Hey, this is Amy Allison Taylor. I'm going to try to teach you the basics of muscle testing, which is really important right now with the coronavirus because muscle testing can help you detect it well before the point when you'd be sick enough to qualify for one of the tests. So it can be a very helpful for you to an early identifier. Now, having said that, I want to be very clear that I am not discouraging anyone from taking the physical test. If you can get a hold of one and you qualify, definitely do that. I don't see energy work and Western medical work to be in conflict with each other at all. I think we should be working together, and I wish more physicians would employ energy workers because I think we'd have a lot to offer each other. So please hear that I am in no way discouraging you from taking tests or saying that you should use muscle testing to determine whether you can come in close social contact with somebody or not. I'm not saying that at all. Follow all the guidelines that they're giving you, like keeping distance, washing hands, doing the test if you're ill. I'm just saying add this in, all right? As with any virus or cold or flu, early detection is key in helping your body to fight it. So if you're somebody that really pays attention to your body, you know that when you first get that little throat tickle, that's the time to go get your echinacea and eat some garlic and, to kill it dead before it takes over. And that's the problem with the coronavirus, is that by the time the symptoms are full blown enough for you to know that you have it, you've had it for a while and you've been breathing on people and it's really gotten a hold of you. And for many of us who have seasonal allergies, unfortunately, the symptoms of the coronavirus early on often mimic those seasonal allergies. And so it's a long time before you think, oh, maybe I really do have it, because it just feels so familiar. It just feels like, oh, this is just my yearly thing that I get. So anyway, so just to say, like, again, I'm saying use this and do all those other things. I'm following all the rules that have been put out, and staying in isolation and, washing hands and, all of that, so please hear that. And let me teach you how to do some muscle testing. Okay. So muscle testing is a really interesting phenomenon, and I'm going to call it a phenomena. It is not, it's a physical phenomenon. It is not spiritual. You do not have to be a good or spiritual person to be able to do muscle testing. You do have to have some measure of honesty within your own body. Okay, that doesn't mean that you need to be honest with other people, but you do need to be honest with yourself to a degree. That there is that piece, all right. But you don't have to be, all healed up and, have your life together. And I'm an attestament for that. Like, my friends will tell you that I'm just me. I'm a regular old person. I'm an empath. I'm an intuitive, but I come from a dysfunctional background. I've got a lot to work on in my life. I am a great muscle tester. That doesn't mean I've got it figured out. And so don't let this intimidate you. Like, it's nothing. It's just a phenomena. So let me explain exactly what it is. And there's a lot that we still don't know about it, because it's a hard one to create a scientific test for, because a lot of it has to do with your focus. And it's really hard to determine what a person is focusing on, right? What they're actually specifically thinking about in the moment. You only have their word for it. So sometimes the different tests that I've seen set up for muscle testing that would seem to say that it doesn't work, I was just like, oh God, they never pinned down the focus question. They weren't aware that that was an issue. So keep in mind that muscle testing, what you're muscle testing for is what you're focusing on up here. And sometimes our conscious mind has a lot of chatter, and you think the conscious mind thinks it's doing something when the deeper mind is doing something else. So I'll give you an example of a focus example where I was muscle testing. I had been ill, and I had just blown my nose and thrown it in a garbage can near me. and I was trying to muscle test, and I'd been sitting somewhere else and I'd been muscle testing just fine. And then I suddenly I was getting crazy answers, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? And got really frustrated until I calmed down and I looked around and I was like, okay, I was muscle testing well over there. And I actually went back to where I was sitting and I went, oh, I'm muscle testing okay over here. And then I walked back to where I was. And again, the same thing happened and I wasn't muscle testing well until I looked around and looked down and I went, oh, the Kleenex. Well, of course, this is the main thing that I'm out of right relationship right now. All the bugs, all the bacteria. I had strep throat at the time, that's in this Kleenex is what I'm fighting. And if I muscle tested myself for that, for my relationship towards the bugs, I tested really weak at the time. And so standing near that, it was like standing near kryptonite, like it was totally throwing me off. When I stepped away, I could muscle test fine. So, this amazing mind of mine, my conscious mind was totally unaware of that. But my body, they say that only 10% of your mind is your conscious mind, and the rest is this incredibly elegant thing that can sense, stuff that you're not aware of at all. It can sense all around you. And, somebody with a peanut allergy can sense that there's peanuts in the cabinet. They couldn't even say that, but their body goes, ooh, there's something here, right? So it's really interesting to recognize and really honor the fact that you are not aware of all that you are, not even, you like 10% aware of all that you are. And so this muscle testing practice can be very humbling in that it gets you in touch with the deeper parts of yourself that can do these amazing things. And so, it's really a practice in wonder, I think, to do the muscle testing, because you'll get these surprising answers that are well beyond what your conscious mind could have come up with by itself, and they'll just be right on. So I get goosebumps. Sometimes I'll be doing muscle testing and then I'm just like, how did I get that? That's so amazing. And I just literally have to go, lie down and eat some Haagen-Dazs and watch a kids movie for a while till I like, okay, right. Because there's so much that we don't know. There's so much that we don't know. So let's start this journey for you on discovering, getting a hold of that part of yourself. So muscle testing, there's a lot of different ways to do it. We're just going to focus today on self muscle testing. There are ways to do muscle testing on other people, but today let's just focus on some self muscle testing techniques. Okay, so here's one that it is a pretty easy one for a lot of people, where you make 2 rings with your fingers, one inside the other, and then you try to pull your fingers apart. Okay, and when you're if you're working with an allergen, if you were in right relationship towards that allergen, say I'm allergic to wheat and I've got a piece of bread near me, right? If I bring that allergen into my field so it's near me, I'll test weak towards it. I won't feel comfortable with it in my field. If I remove it, I'll stay strong. If I bring it close, I'll test weak towards it. So that's what I mean by being out of right relationship. Your body goes, ugh, and there's actually the fingers are just reflecting what the body is doing. The body's kind of going, ooh. And if you went to eat it, you'd probably go, no, I don't, there'd be an aversion to it. So that's one way to notice that. So we talk about weak or no or closed, right? You're blocked towards something. And then when you're in right relationship, it's yes and open and flowing and strong towards that thing. And so in some ways, if you really pay attention to what's happening in your body, you don't need the muscle testing. You'll just go, ooh, or ah, right? Is how it works. But for most of us, the muscle testing is helpful because that's fairly subtle, whereas this is pretty obvious, right? I find it helpful before I'm doing a muscle testing session. Maybe I want to test a bunch of foods or test, whether I've got the coronavirus, for example. And something like testing for the coronavirus, it can put you into a place of fear. And when you're in a place of fear, it can really mess up your energy field. So if you know what it means to be ungrounded, it means energetically your things aren't moving properly. And so a lot of people spend a lot of time doing practices like yoga or, meditation, or I like to go for a walk in the woods, right? To ground your energy, to bring yourself into like the parasympathetic calming nervous system, right? And in that state, then you're a more honest body and you can get more honest answers. But when you go into fear, you do something called polarizing, where you literally flip your energy field the opposite way and you'll get opposite answers. So I'll show you an example of that. So it's for this reason that I like to start off a muscle testing session with a series of statements that are, some are true and some are lies. And I just want to make sure that I'm, on before I start testing for foods or viruses. So using this method, I might say something like, my name is Amy, my name is Bob. And when I tell myself the lie, there's this constriction here, but also I can't hold the fingers. So try that right now. Just tell yourself a truth and a lie. If you've got some misgivings about your own name, using a name might not be the best. So you could use something like, I have blonde hair, I have blue hair, right? So just tell yourself a series of things, some truths and lies, and see how that fits. For some people, this is not their favorite muscle testing, so I'll give you a couple other ones that you could use. So this is another one that people use, and where it's like you're pressing down. So this upper finger is pressing down on the lower one. And I can say, my name is Amy, my name is Bob, right? And what I like about this one is that you can do it on either hand. I have blue hair, I have blonde hair, right? And that's important because sometimes, depending on what's going on with you, you may be more honest on one side than the other. It's kind of an interesting thing, but it has to do with certain meridians, which are connected to certain organs, and it has to do with your yin and your yang energy, or whether you've got more trauma stored on the left side of the brain, which affects the right side of the body. There's a bunch of things. And so, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes I'll be getting different answers from right to left. And I'll know that I'm more honest on one side than the other. And so then I'll use that side, or I'll do a meditation to make sure that both sides come into right relationship. So anyway, so for some of you, this one might be a better option because this one takes two hands to do, right? So, so you might try that one. A third one that I'll show you is where you just place a hand. So you've got one finger out, and my name is Amy, my name is Bob. Right, so you could try that one too. So there's three for you. So I'm going to go to this one. And so I was saying, you need to ask yourself a couple different questions. So we did names, we did, appearance. Now I'm going to do an emotion question. I'm going to say, I love my dog, I hate my dog, right? And that's a pretty clear one. And here's a really good one too, is to say, my dog loves me, my dog hates me, right? Because, of all people on the planet, my dog loves me, right? That's a given. So, that's a really good one to test. And that's important for if you're an emotional person like me, because I tend to have those days when I'm like, oh, boo-hoo, nobody loves me, he never loved me, and I'm going into some relationship trauma or something. And so I'm telling myself a lie. So in that moment, if I said, my dog loves me, I would get a no. My dog hates me, I'd get a yes. Oh, right. And then I know I'm lying my ass off because, of course, my dog loves me. And I need to do a meditation and chill out and go, come on, Amy. The truth is that he did love you, but you guys argued a lot and he decided the relationship wasn't for him and he left. That's what happened. That's the truth. But he did love you at one point. So deal with that, right? And then I come into right relationship. I'll often sigh as I, switch over to feeling calmer about that. And I've got my hands here, if you haven't seen my other videos, because that's how I tend to do Reiki or energy healing through the heart chakra. That works for me. So right now I'm literally sending energy to myself to tell myself to calm down. So that's one way to get yourself back in right relationship. I also like to go to another level. I often will say, what do I say? I am human. That needs to test strong. or I am God needs to test weak. And I need to test this one on myself a lot, because as an energy healer, sometimes I can get really full of myself and be like, I did that. Yeah, I just cured that person's cancer, right? I'm just feeling really badass. When the real truth is that I don't do anything. I just channel the energy. Like, like I said, I'm not a particularly spiritual person. I'm not a particularly, great person, but I do know how to get out of my own way and let the energy move through me, right? So the truth here is I am human. I am God is a lie. So that should test weak there. So, anyway, for some people, that's not a great one to use, because maybe they have a spiritual practice where they talk about the God in me, and so that might be problematic. So you might say, I'm human, I am all powerful or something, and that should be weak, something like that. So personalize it to you. So you go through those, and if you find that you're honest, then you're ready to go on to asking questions about viruses and foods. If you're not honest, it means that you need to go for a walk in the woods or do some yoga, or whatever you do to come into a more honest state, and then you can come back to it again. So how do you test for so something like wheat? You would, like I said, either bring the thing into your field, or you can just focus on it. You can simply think about wheat and say, show me a relationship towards it. I test strong for that because I've healed all of my allergies a long time ago. So I can eat wheat now, even though it used to be, I used to be allergic to it. But you might try that, and then you might think about, like I said, fine tune it a bit. Like, think about the things that are in wheat. You can go online and say, Google nutrients in wheat, and they'll break it down to things like gliadin, gluten, vitamin E, all these different things. And then you can test for the things in it and see if it's a specific thing, right? And then, when you know what it is, you can talk to your body about it and say, hey, body, wheat is actually a friend. Vitamin E is a friend. Gliadin is a friend. Like, let's come into a right relationship with that. And then, when you're feeling, when it switches over, there'll often be a sigh, and you'll kind of move forward or feel more expansive. Moving forward is also an energy testing method. It's called the sway method, and it's a great thing to do with a nutrient. Like, you can go grab a loaf of bread and just hold it here, and if you're out of a right relationship, you'll go back. And then you can just hold it there and tell yourself to come into a right relationship with everything in it until you move forward, right? You can do that with things in the spice cabinet, or always a good choice to work with, because they have a lot of potent phytochemicals, and things like oregano oil and thyme and cinnamon are all pathogen fighters, so they're good ones to use. Anyway, so I think I've given you a lot of good things for you to play with. And if we were in a class together, I'd have a bunch of foods out on the counter, and everybody would be muscle testing, and then you could come back and ask me questions about, well, this one, why did I test for this? And and so it's a little harder to teach here, where we can't interact, and I can't kind of problem solve for you why you're getting different answers. Remembering that we all focus differently, so guiding you towards how to focus and how to ask questions is part of the process. I'll give you an example. So sometimes you might, in general, test strong toward, like, that wheat bread. One possible answer with the wheat bread would be, like, you might you won't go fully weak on it, just sort of, kind of. And if you were doing the sway test, you wouldn't neither go forward nor back to it. You'd just be in the middle. And so that is an answer in itself, when you're just kind of in, when you're getting sort of a half answer. And what that means is, ask me more questions. And so then you might go to fine tuning it. Like I said, is it gliadin? Is it things? And if that doesn't pin it down, then you might want to go and talk to different parts of your body. Like, the majority of your body might be fine with it, but your colon might not at all. And so you can either just focus on, you're basically saying, hey, colon, how do you feel about this? Oh, not good at all, right? Or you can even if you hold the bread around in front of the belly, you might go backwards, as you'll be fine when it's here. And then as you bring it towards the organ that is not having a good time with it, it'll move backwards. So that's kind of a fun thing to play with. Okay, so I think I've given you a lot of different options there, and the thing to do now is go play, go have some fun with it. Play around with it, and I'll do another video on how, specifically how to muscle test for the coronavirus. But you probably don't want to go there until you're feeling pretty confident with your ability to do, some things that are not as emotionally charged as the coronavirus. So play around with this stuff till you get some confidence. If you want to ask me questions, you can go to my website, amyallisontaylor.com, and you can get my contact information there, and send me a text, send me an email, and ask your questions that way. Or I think there's a place where you can put comments below this video, and I'll check those and respond back that way, so we can at least have a little bit of a dialogue. So have fun. Let yourself be surprised by your amazing mind and body and all that it can do without your conscious knowledge or permission even, and start creating this incredible relationship between you as the conscious self and you as the unconscious self, right? And it's an amazing relationship, and one that you want to develop over time and grow and trust as you continue to develop how to work with yourself to bring yourself into good health. So, thank you for watching. Namaste.